welcome to Gulfstream today, and welcome to beautiful Gulfstream Park, Ron Nicoletti, along with Gabby Gaudet. And Gabby, Fast Main Track Fern Turf Course should be a lot of fun this afternoon.
It's going to be a great day. It is a little bit overcast, a little humid as well, but hopefully any precipitation to stay away from us. We've got a big weekend on tap. Of course, yesterday they drew the card for the big 2-year-old stakes day. That's coming up on Saturday. I know you handicapped the card last night, as did I. The majority of the card. It took a while to get through.
Oh my goodness, it took, we were talking before we came on the air. I spent 3 hours just on the preliminary stuff there trying to get done, but got it done, and it's going to be a fun day. And when you have that kind of racing, it's so much fun, because if you have a hunch, you could make a lot of money.
If you have a hunch, or if you have some insider information maybe, and hopefully we can have a good day on Saturday. But a good racing card here today. We, of course, have some of those featured wagers as well.
Yeah, we're going to start it off every day. We have 7 or more horses in the field. We have the rolling super high 5, so that's 7 horses or more. And it builds throughout the afternoon. We had a couple of nice carryovers yesterday. We got 2 pick 5s on the card each and every day. And Gabby's got a ticket for the first of the pick 5s, and we'll get to that just momentarily. And the Rainbow 6 today, starting in race number 5.
We have the Rainbow 6 at carryover over $31,000 today. It was kind of tough to get through yesterday. Honestly, some of the sequences were tough to get through. We had a couple of really nice big prices too. The early pick 5 yesterday returning over $13,000. So it pays to play, of course, in the next race after the Rainbow 6 starts. We start the late pick 5.
The late pick 5, and we were right around them yesterday, or late when we were. We got knocked out. You got knocked out in the early with a $102 winner. It's hard to have that one, but some people did. It paid, as you mentioned, almost $14,000. So we took care of all that business. Now we'll look at Thursday's card, the first race. 7 furlongs, claim is 3 and up, $6,250, and we're starting the day with a clean slate, no scratches or jockey changes in race 1, and you have your early pick 5 ticket.
Let's get to it. Another one that I thought was kind of difficult. I couldn't really find a single in the early pick 5 sequence, but we'll start things off with the 3-5-6, with the 3-6-10, the 3-5, 5-10, and 6-11-12 in the final leg of the sequence. Again, I thought it was kind of tough. We have some maiden races in here. I don't really like to single in maiden races. I think the bulk of the races will be in the late pick 5 and pick 6. I know you have a ticket, which we'll get to later on in the show.
Yeah, and I found a single in that, but didn't fare too well yesterday. You had 4 in the race. I singled in, and you actually came out with looking better than I did in that race.
My single didn't show up either yesterday. It lost at 7-5, so I don't know if I can be too proud.
Well, let's go to, I went with the 6 Flashing Cat in here. I don't know who you put on top of your ticket. You went with the number 5 in here, Curlin's Gem. Flashing Cat, impressive winner at this level, 2 starts back, and a proven commodity at 7 furlongs. And I like that. 4 starts at the distance with a win in the 3rd, drop, stretches out, lost all chance when he was squeezed and steadied at the start. It was an $8,000 starter allowance going 3/4 of a mile, and I think this was compromised this horse's chances last time out. So I'm keen off that performance, 2 starts back.
And I agree with you. I think he definitely experienced some early trouble last time out, and it was against much tougher company. You can see he was 28-1 in that event. He was coming out of open claimers into that starter allowance condition, which is always pretty tough. And in terms of class, I do think that he's probably the best in this field. Sometimes he has been known to fade going 7 furlongs. I know he has been able to win. I just think he needs a really strong pace and the right timed move in order for the most success. So I did think he might be a touch vulnerable at this particular distance. I think he might be just a little bit stronger at 3/4. So I went to the 5 Curlin's Gem. This is another horse who does need pace, but you know better than I do, very, very hard to close on the main track at Gulfstream Park West. I think this track here at Gulfstream has been very fair both last weekend and today. As we saw, this horse is a dead-end closer, and I think the 7 furlongs should definitely help him.
Well, there's a horse that's going to the lead here, and that's Double Judge. Double Judge is going to the lead. He always goes to the lead, but he doesn't last. So if someone runs with him, it sets up for the 5-horse Curlin's Gem, who I think, there's really that lack of strong other pace to complement his patient style. So, and that was the reason for flip-flopping on the 6 and the 5 for me, at least.
The only other horse that I could foresee maybe pressuring Double Judge, who, as you said,
Yeah.
always goes to the lead. The 3, Little Awesome, just to his inside. I know he didn't make the lead last time out, but the horse does have some back speed, and I thought he was maybe just a little outclassed last time, facing Open Company for the first time. You know, he was facing conditional claimers prior to that, so I don't know how strong he will be class-wise against this field, but I do think that he'll kind of revert to his back speed.
And you know, the second speed in this race, for lack of a better term, might be the one to beat in here, because you know that as we mentioned, Double Judge, if he gets a lonesome lead and gets lost, he can win it. But I always think he's going to back up. So maybe the 3 gets the job done. Not a horse that I did use on my ticket.
Well, I really do think that the 5, 6 in here should be very tough to beat. I think you can really feel confidently in those 2 horses. I just wanted to throw in a long shot here, thinking he can improve, and that was the 3. So that'll have to do it for me for the first leg of the pick 5.
There you go. Let's go to race number 2. 6 furlongs claimers, 2-year-olds, $16,000. 12 runners in the field. This kicks off the first of 2 pick 4s on the card. And as I always say, we do not make it easy here at Gulfstream Park to win those multiple wagers. I went with the number 3 in horse in here, Thanks God. Continues his descent down the competition scale. Got parked 6 wide, failed to fire. It was $100,000, the juvenile sprint across town at Gulfstream Park West last time out. This one looks strong at the $16,000 level. When this horse started its campaign, I thought he was going to be one of the top 2-year-olds around here. Didn't fare that well. It looks like they're putting the for sale sign up, dropping him to the $16,000 level, and that's why I went there.
That's always questionable for me, though. When you get to this kind of middle condition, you do get a lot of class droppers, and sometimes you have to make the decision. Do you want to go for the class dropper, or do you want to go for a horse maybe that's stepping up in class, or maybe making that lateral move? I do think that you have to respect the class droppers in here. Thanks God is one of them, and also the Jason Service horse, the 6 Been Waiting, is the other class dropper. But I did go in a different direction for my top selection, and this horse does have to step up in class, but Wesley Ward, usually when he does this move, he has success. We'll show a statistic for Wesley Ward with maiden winners last out, sprinting on the dirt, coming back and being victorious. He's 22% out of 54 horses, Ron. Positive ROI of $2.47 and 46% in the money. And, you know, Gulfstream Park West, speed is always extremely dangerous. So you could argue that maybe he kind of rode the bias last time out, but he's well posted outside to really position himself wherever he wants to be.
Yeah, my concern was that I didn't know if he was too cheap in here.
He
know
could
what I
be.
mean? Could be a little cheap in there, and that was my, my thinking on it, why I didn't put him on top. I have him on the ticket for all the reasons you mentioned in there, and Wesley Ward taking the blinkers off, that's one of his key moves with 2-year-olds. He always starts all his 2-year-olds with blinkers on, takes them off after a while. So this horse getting the blinkers off and might be in the logical spot at 12.5. I just thought maybe he was a little cheap.
He is. He will definitely. The only way that he's going to win is if Been Waiting doesn't show up because he's dropping in class, and if Thanks God doesn't show up. They both kind of. The odd thing about these 2 horses, Thanks God does sit on kind of a questionable performance last time out. Maybe he couldn't close on that track at Gulfstream Park West. Been Waiting, though. He put in a really good effort at Monmouth against Allowance Optional Claiming Company. He hasn't been seen since early September, and now immediately drops. I thought that this was a very questionable move.
Yeah, he's dropping down. Jason Service, he's good with this kind of layoff of 61 to 180 days, but there is some concerns in here, and as there is with Thanks God in there. So maybe it's as simple as, a horse, like you said, taking a jump up, running really good last time out, talking about the Candy Carlo. So maybe that's the way to go. But Thanks God has been on my radar all summer long,
Got to stick with him.
You got to stick with him, so that's where I went with that. Now, race number 3, I find this race really interesting as far as breeding goes in here. 1 mile maiden special weight, 3-year-olds and upward. And we do have a scratch of the inside horse in here, and that's the 1 Bourbon Commander. And you went with the number 3 horse in here, a horse, Illustrious Son, who I didn't use on my ticket.
Well, we'll go back and take a look at this horse's debut performance. Unfortunately, things went a little bit amiss in his second start after that at Gulfstream Park West, going 7 furlongs. You can see he clipped heels and fell. So we'll take a look at his first start, and he is the number 2 horse in the Black Silks. And what I see here, Ron, is that he's starting to go backwards. And that is something that I always pay attention to with sprinters. This is a horse who is not probably a sprinter. He wants to go a distance of ground. When we see horses break quickly at sprint distances, kind of suck back and let the field swallow them up, and then make another bid, it gives me the inclination that they want longer distances. And this horse, not to mention, did not save any ground coming around the final turn. He was the widest of all, and he still, despite all of that, came with a nice closing run. Now, the winner of this race was Top Brass. He came back to run a good fourth, and A Company at Aqueduct getting an 84 Beyer speed figure for that performance. So out of that race, a couple horses have gone on to improve, and I think he will definitely improve with added distance of the mile.
Yeah, no, that's a good, looking at the replay there, it certainly makes you think that this horse is going to close well at this mile distance. But I got enamored with the breeding in here, and that's why I went with the number 5, Cumberland River. He's a half-brother to $3.2 million earner Congaree. Been training well at Palm Meadows in preparation. First start, he failed to fire, but it was a strong 9-furlong maiden special weight race here. It was in February, last February here at Gulfstream Park, a race that produced 5 next out maiden special weight winners from 10 starters. Kieran McLaughlin is the trainer. Has Joe Rosario atop this Dolly homebred son of Distorted Humor. And I want to show us that over the last 5 years with Kieran McLaughlin. Was this your stat?
This was my stat.
Well, take you then.
Well, he does well, and these are always the tough statistics to look at because he wins at 20% consistently. We're talking about 82 horses where he finishes in the money 51% of the time. However, if you bet these horses, you don't get money. It's a negative ROI, so $1.48. That said, he does do a great job. This horse has been kind of sporadically placed in the past year and a half. That was another reason why I kind of took a little bit of the wait and see approach, but there's no doubt about it. The company that he faced in February of last year, very tough. Even his race at Belmont, I know he was well beaten, but Matt King Cole, he came back to finish 4th in the Wood Memorial. I think Neolithic ran out of that race well. Those were some key races at the time. You just wonder if he's the same horse.
Well, the horse that we both have some interest in here is the number 4, and that's Fast Friar.
Fast Friar is a horse who will have to prove that he can go the distance. He only has 1 start under his belt. That was at Parks, and he showed speed that day, going 6.5 furlongs. If he can go the distance, he's likely to wire the field here, Ron, because I don't see anybody else in here that's fast enough to go with him. And
he was third behind a repeat winner called the Red Dragon Tattoo, and the next out maiden special weight winner that won up at Laurel. So this horse comes out of a pretty good race, and as you mentioned, he's got that tactical ability to maybe just go to lead and live up to his name, Fast Friar, and just go and take it gate to wire. Now the 2 horse, going back to why I was enamored with the breeding in this race, Cowboys Hero. This one is a half-brother to $3.8 million earner Opportunity, now in the Pedro Castillo barn, making his first start. He encountered trouble at the start. He hopped, he was squeezed back, but it was in May. It was back in May, so another horse I'm taking off the layoff. This is a $550,000 son of Cowboy Cal, and he shows a couple of Gulfstream Park workouts in preparation for the turn. This was Pedro Castillo, was Giuseppe Isidornia's former assistant. He's moved his horses to his barn, and I think this horse is someone you want to give a second look to.
He's very well bred, and obviously a high price purchase at the sale, and he's been bet accordingly because he obviously debuted at 80 cents to the dollar, came back to be the beaten favorite. But the winner of that race went on to run in the West Virginia Derby. I think he might have been 4th in that race. So it has been a productive race. Once again, though, this is a horse that we haven't seen since May. Seemed a little bit one pace against Maiden Special Weight Company earlier this year, and has to work out a trip from the rail post going the mile. So I thought tactically some things might have been against him, but there's no doubt about it. He is very well bred.
And you're going to get a square price on him, I believe. Even though we got the scratch of that inside horse, so now he's got a break from the inside this afternoon. Anybody else before we flip the page?
I was just looking at the 7 Collective Wisdom, watching the replay of this horse last time out. He was coming off a layoff since March, and visually it looked he was a little bit short of fitness. He was swapping leads coming down the lane. He did have to check slightly on the backstretch. My concern with that was how tough was that field. We'll definitely see how tough it was later on today as Spin Talk is entered in a restricted allowance optional claimer.
Yeah, and we were talking about that horse earlier today. We were impressed with his victory last time out. So let's go to race number 4, 6 furlongs, maiden claiming 2-year-olds. $35,000. And this one has a scratch of the number 7 horse in the race, so we'll be dealing with 9 runners. And I went with the number 10 in here, Hurricane Force. And this one is dropping a notch on the maiden scale after responding to an equipment change last time out with blinkers off. An improved third place finish as the even money favorite. It was a 50,000 maiden test at GP West. Wesley Ward, Antonio Gallardo handling the outside post this afternoon. Got one scratch to its inside.
One scratch, so he does move in a jump. And I like him too, Ron. I thought last time out with the change of equipment, taking the blinkers off, this horse still unfortunately broke from the rail post position. He had pressure every step of the way, and despite that, I thought he hung on pretty gamely. But today, the tables are turned, where he does draw the outside post position. He's got natural speed, and he can really choose where he wants to be. So Hurricane Force, I agree with you on all the points you made as well. I just was interested in a horse by the name of Gray Dude down to the inside by First Dude, this Ralph Nix runner. And he does have to step up in class a little bit, and there's always the concern that horses will either digress or improve on a fast track, as he debuted on a soppy sealed track. But I want to show a statistic here for trainer Ralph Nix with Gray Dude, with his maiden second-time starter sprinting on the dirt. 20 out of 71 starters, 20 wins out of 71 starters, 28%, and a positive ROI. He finishes in the money 62% of the time. He visually, Ron, he just looked like a horse that was having a lot of trouble keeping up early. Didn't really look like he liked the surface, but he was well backed by the public. So that, to me, maybe gave me the inclination that they liked him in that race.
Yeah, and he's, it's a lateral move. He's going from 25 to 35, which is not really a jump here. So a horse that I have to go back and take a second look at. Now, the inside horse in here, Adagio, has turned finishing second certainly into an art form, this one. He'll depart from the rail. He's going to drop to the $35,000 level after finishing second again. It was a 50 maiden sprint across town. He's going to have to show me he's going to win. I got him on the ticket, but I would not, single him or any such thing like that. I got to use him on my trifecta or superfecta ticket.
I took the approach to just try to leave him off, and looking at the early pick 5, I didn't use him. I just used my top 2 selections. I like your top selections. He's just uncovered a little bit of second-itis here, so I had to go against him. Plus, he's on the inside, and I think he meets slightly tougher. I thought there were others that could improve. Perhaps the 8 Sarge I looked at too as kind of an outsider for Eddie Pliza. Yeah, and I used the 6, Tommy's Top Cap debut locally. He stumbled at the start. He got parked wide, 6 wides on the turn, and he didn't run bad behind Adagio and Hurricane Force when they hooked up. So maybe that's with a clean break, this horse could be somewhere on the ticket. So Hurricane Force, got to go back and look at the number 5, Gray Dude. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'll show you my Rainbow 6 ticket.
January 28th at Gulfstream Park, an icon takes flight. The world's richest thoroughbred horse race. 12 of the sport's finest horses. One race. $12 million on the line. Watch, wager, witness. Go to PegasusWorldCup.com for more.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Our 5th race of the afternoon, 7.5 furlongs. This on the turf. Maiden claimers, fillies, 2-year-olds, $25,000. Scratch the 7 Ship Sam, and also scratch the 14 and 15 to 13. Win, get in, and we'll run this afternoon. So when you're doing your handicapping, putting your Rainbow 6 ticket together, you might want to take another look at that number 13 horse in here. And now let's go to my Rainbow 6 ticket this afternoon, and $43.20. I got a single in race number 6, and that is Policy Portfolio, 9 to 5 on the morning line from Mike Maker, Luis Saez in its saddle. And I wanted to spread in the other races. I thought it was a wide open affair. Going to try and get the single home, but the 8, 9, and 11 to start it off in race number 5.
In my late pick 5, which we'll get to in the next race, Ron, I couldn't quite single on that horse, but I couldn't really find a single in any of the races, so I don't blame you for trying to bring that one home because he is kind of the most legitimate horse in that race. So best of luck on your Rainbow Six ticket. It was kind of tough to tackle yesterday. Hopefully we have good luck, good fortune today. I see you like the 11 Royal Chapeau here for Eddie Pliza.
Yeah, debuting locally after proving she could compete at this $25,000 level when finishing, I thought, a well-meant second at this level in distance across town on the Gulfstream Park West turf course. You mentioned the trainer, Eddie Pliza Jr. He's got Paco Lopez named on this daughter of Hat Trick.
Well, looking at these two horses, and unfortunately they both draw to the outside. I went to the 12, you went to the 11. And in Royal Chapeau's last race, she actually did go against Taco Wayne's Shot. What a name that is. If you look at Taco Wayne's Shot in her race when she went against Royal Chapeau that day drew the rail post position, and she hugged the hedge every step of the way. I thought she got a beautiful trip, and she ran well. She couldn't quite get it done, but she did run well. Whereas Taco Wayne's Shot, she drew 11 out of 12, and going into the first turn, just completely blew the turn. So she lost a tremendous amount of ground going into the first turn and the final turn, and it looked like she did not like that turf course whatsoever. It was a little bit on the softer side. You can see it was listed as good, and it looked like it was raining that day as well. So I think that she's just one that will improve on a very firm course. However, both of these fillies have to work out a trip from the outside.
Yeah, and that was my concern. I mean, I used the 12 on the bottom part of my ticket. I didn't go that deep for my Rainbow Six, but a horse, for all the reasons you mentioned, I did use on my ticket. Now, I went to the number 8, Beyond's Way, in second. This one's turning back to 7.5. And coming with the neck, it was the favorite that afternoon of exiting the maiden ranks against similar going a mile, Larry Bates. Luca Panici, how hot has he been? I think he's leading rider or thereabout here early on in the championship meeting. He rode great all summer long. I think this one carves out a real nice trip.
Continuing momentum. We actually have seen, if you paid attention to circuits throughout the country, whether it be Gulfstream Park West, out in Kentucky area, whether it be Keeneland or Churchill, even New York and the Mid-Atlantic, we've seen trainers and jockeys who have had success at those circuits continue that momentum to Gulfstream so far this winter. So I think it's something to be cognizant of. We saw Ian Wilkes to be one that's top of mind. He had a fantastic Churchill meet. He has already won one on at Gulfstream during the winter so far. Luca Panici transitioning is good form here. So something to pay attention to. And Beyond's Way, I like this horse as an outsider too. I hope they get aggressive with her. She looked like she improved when she was managed to sit a bit closer to the pace. Doesn't look like a lot of pace in here, so I think she might be able to carve out a similar trip.
Yeah, and that's what I thought that. And being mid-pack, or you want to call 8 the mid-pack, for the whole 2 horses we picked are on the outside. So this one to me is mid-pack this afternoon. Now we both, and you actually have in second, and that's the 6 Bahama Kitten, who's a daughter of Kitten's Joy.
And looking at Bahama Kitten, sometimes when you get to Churchill and Keeneland at that particular time of year, kind of in the mid to late fall season, and it is hedging towards kind of being listed as good, horses either really like it or they really hate it. And I think that might have been the case with this filly. She just looks like she ran a better race when she sprinted at Ellis, but that was on a firm course. I do think that she wants to go long, but I think she wants a firm going, and that's what she gets today. However, Joe Sharp with his turf runners going from maiden special weight to maiden claiming company, only 14% and a negative ROI. So I'll respect this horse, just not really a winning angle for the barn.
Yeah, you know, and I just think that maybe this is an okay spot for this horse where she should be effective, but I wasn't enamored with her performances. Same reasoning, I put her on the ticket, but I'm not sure that she's going to be the one to beat in here this afternoon. Now, race number 6 is a 5-furlong turf event. Maiden claim is 3-year-olds and up. We do have a scratch in here of the number 9 horse, and that is Inspire. And with that scratch, the number 13 horse will get in the run. And did you use the 13 on your late pick 5 ticket?
I did not. I did not.
I know you didn't.
I believe the horse is a big long shot here, so leaving that one off the ticket, but using the 1, 10, and the 11. That was what you used. I know you singled on the one policy portfolio in here in your pick 6, but I kind of like 2 horses to the outside as well to try to beat the 9-5 favorite, going to the 4, 6 in the next race, 1, 5, 6 in the 8th. Spreading in race 9, I had a tough time dwindling the ticket down in that leg because my fourth selection is the 11 Spin Talk, and she scares me from a class perspective. So going to be tacking her in and then capping it off with the 6 and the 11. $72, a little pricey, but I think it could really return nicely if you get through it.
Yeah, if you
which
get a
is
couple
always
of those,
hard.
it's just always hard to get through this, and I'm having trouble. Like my kid keeps getting caught on my jacket. Number one policy portfolios dropping to the $20,000 level, turning back the 5 furlongs, went up, set a pressured pace, and tired to finish ace against $40,000 maidens going 7 furlongs. It was on the Belmont turf, a race that produced a couple of next out winners from 7 starters. Mike Maker, Luis Saez handling that inside draw this afternoon. I singled this horse because I wanted to make my ticket affordable. I am agreement. I like the 11 and the 10 on my ticket there, but had to find a single somewhere, and that's where I went with the number one policy portfolio.
It's tough to do because you want to keep your ticket at kind of a manageable price, but if you're playing a legitimate pick 6 ticket, I think you do want to use other horses in here. You gave an excellent base, a $43.20 ticket. So,
right.
I mean, that's what you have to do if that's your bankroll, if that's
Right.
your budget. So, policy portfolio here, though, she does cut back in distance slightly. He does cut back in distance slightly, second off the layoff. And I thought his race at Saratoga, it's going to be very tough. If you look at the competition that he faced in that maiden claiming event, and now stepping once again down in class, he just looked kind of even, kind of one pace that day, but I do think that this distance will be preferred. Kind of tough sometimes to work out a trip from the rail going 5 furlongs, though. So I'm going to the outside with the 10, Great Skellig for Christophe Clement. And the last time we saw this horse was off a layoff on a yielding going at 6 furlongs, and it just didn't look like he could really close into the pace that day on that yielding going. It didn't look like the pace was coming back to him whatsoever.
Yeah, he finished third. That was against New York Bred State sprint going 6 furlongs, as you mentioned, on that yielding course. And it's really tough to leave Christophe Clement off your ticket when you do that. You know how well he does on the turf, especially here at Gulfstream Park. So, like you mentioned with the Rainbow 6 ticket and your pick 5 ticket, if you can go deeper in the spots, you don't have to single. I'm in agreement that this horse can run well. Now, the other horse that we both used, and you actually used on your ticket, is the 11 Main Street Movie.
Yes, I like this horse because he was coming off a very long layoff from December 2015 to October, so under a year layoff here. And last time out, I thought he ran an excellent race despite a pretty fast pace and the fact that he took pressure on the lead the entire way. So not only did he take pressure, but they went quickly. They went 21-2, 44-3 for the half. They finished up pretty well considering their maiden claimers, and he hung in gamely. So now the tables are turned. There's not it doesn't look like there's a lot of legitimate speed in here, so he should be able to press from the outside.
And you know, you mentioned trainers that carry their good form from the summer over maybe to the championship meet. Ronnie Werner is certainly one of those. Edgar Zayas in the saddle this afternoon. So I think those are the logical 3 in this race.
Let's hope so. That's all I got.
Race number 7, 7.5 furlongs. Claimers 3 and up. Non-winners of 3 in life. Scratch all the also eligibles in here. 13, 14, 15, and number 16.
And looking at this field, well, I hope you're right about Ronnie Werner, because I went back to the 4 McFly. I just think that he does look like he'll be lone speed in here, Ron, but sometimes he's just had a little bit of difficulty in sustaining that speed.
And I thought he might get hooked in the duel with the number 6 in here, and that's to shake things up, who's now in the George Navarro bond. This gelded son of Shakespeare has been burning up the Gulfstream Park West training track. Preparation for the first start since competing on the turf in California. It was during 2014, then had 1 start in 2016. I think this 4-year-old is going to go. He's going to be running, gunning as soon as they spring that gate, and I think he's the one to catch.
It's so funny because, you know, I haven't watched a lot of George Navarro horses over the past couple of months. He's primarily down here and sometimes in Monmouth during the summer. And it's crazy how fast they break. It's just like they break before the gates even open. So it's really tough to catch horses like that once they create separation because there's no other horse to go with them. So if that's the case with Shake Things Up, you know, I was looking at this horse. I didn't think on paper he was faster than McFly, who I think is very fast, but you have to take into consideration the George Navarro factor, who trains speed into his horses.
And one of the keys, if you're working fast over at Gulfstream Park West, that is a sand-based track. And usually when you see horses working like that, it really comes up and usually comes to fruition that they're going to show some speed here. So shake things up, McFly, two of the logical contenders. I mean, we got them both on our ticket there. I split it with the number 3 in here, and that's Wonder Frolic, who does his best running from a stalking position, and that could be the key. This one is back on his favorite course. He's had 11 races here, 2 wins, 3 seconds, 3 thirds after his 2-race win streak. Here ended when he finished 3rd at this level of course down. That was the trainer is Milt Wolfson, Javier Castellano, atop the gelded son of Wilson, of course, who sits that dream trip behind the speed, especially if you and I agree that McFly and I agree that shake things up or speed, maybe it sets up for a horse. Oh, and by the way, you get Javier Castellano.
That's never a bad thing to have. He won his first mount back here at the Gulfstream Park Winter Meet. The 8 Not Today kind of has a similar running style, I think should be one to use. He has kind of been exposed at a similar level, and he's a very lightly raced 9-year-old. So sometimes you always have to take that into play. He's got 15 lifetime starts as a 9-year-old, but he does look like one that should close from off the pace. So if we're talking about a pace that doesn't fold, he'll pick up the pieces. And I think this is a good race. If you're looking at the multi-race sequences, the pick 5s and pick 6s, you want to play your speed types, whether it be McFly and the Navarro runner, and you want to play a closer in here as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way you usually put your ticket together. I want to go back and show you a stat, too, on the number 6, shake things up. This one first start after a trainer switch with a 180-day plus layoff. 9 for 27, 33%, 56% in the money, and a positive return of investment, $2.45. So you're saying, here's a horse coming off a 180-day layoff, changing barns, going into the George Navarro barn, and he's successful doing that. And he's done it 27 times. Some people never do that in their whole race training career. So it's one of the stats I wanted to point out.
That's a great stat because not only is it a high percentage, but it is a positive ROI, and that's the one thing that is so problematic with betting George Navarro horses is that they're so undervalued. They're so heavily bet because of their speed. You don't know where you're getting. You know, sometimes the horse will win by 10, sometimes he'll lose at 1 to 9. So if you can find a stat that has a positive ROI on George Navarro, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it's great how you see one speed, I see the other, and then it'll work out. So let's go to race number 8 this afternoon. This one, 5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is Phillies Advance, 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life, $16,000. Going to scratch the 13, 14, and the number 15 out of this race. And I went with the 6. Yes, Miss Ada, but you went with the number 5 in here. Let's start there.
Oh, let's start with your top selection because we have the replay.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll start with that replay. Go back to the 3rd of November last time when we saw this horse. And she should be the favorite in here, I think, for this Steve Claceris runner. She did drop in class last time out. She was dropping from $30,000 claimers to that $16,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime condition. She was the favorite. And she got a perfect trip run. This was my concern, was that she made the lead perfectly. It looked like she was a cinch. And then either the inside horse was extremely game or she hung a little bit there. So that was my concern.
Yeah, and you know, you could make a case that the inside path for a little while on the turf course at Gulfstream Park West after a long meeting there with lots of turf races might been a little better that day. So maybe that just, you know, slingshotted that horse to the lead there. You never know. Or hung like a chandelier. So you have to make that decision. I think we have a stat on this horse, too.
We do. And this is a stat with turf sprinters in their maiden claiming level for Steve Claceris. 14%, but a positive ROI. So still, despite the fact that I thought this horse might have hung a little bit, he does well, and you're still making money when you bet horses like this. So I think one to definitely use. I will be using her in my late pick 5 ticket. And I know you're probably going to call me a homer, but I went with the 5 Queeb coming from Maryland.
Yeah, you know, drop it to the 16 level, turn it back to 5/8 a mile. Take it away. This is your home track.
I thought just it was a very tough race last time out, and I don't think this really necessarily runs well on a good course either. She wants a firm going. She gets that today. She was 38 to 1 last time out, chipping up to Belmont. And even in the race prior to that, when she was beaten at a shorter price, we kind of got to the whole month of September, even early October, where the speed was very, very strong on the turf at Laurel. So Sippy Cup in that race, she went wire to wire. Unfortunately, this filly kind of chased her. It is her day to win. She has to win because she's been the beaten favorite a couple times. But I do think the competition that she faced up in the Mid-Atlantic was very strong.
Yeah, Dale Capuano, Trevor McCarthy mentioned yesterday how he comes here, at different times and does very, very well here. And I went with the 4. Scandals keep coming in a third, and here stepping it up a notch, track the pace, finished third. It was a 12-2 lifetime claimer at the distance. Dave Brady, Javier Castellano in the saddle today. I thought this horse is not outclassed as some might think, and I think it fits okay with this level of competition.
Very well could. And one other horse that I wanted to mention was the 5 Leighton Princess. She is 5-1 on the morning line, but you should be able to get a decent price on her. And I like horses like this. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. I just think she's faced much, much tougher company in all of her turf tries. So although she hasn't been competitive against them, it's been tougher. So now she's in for the $16,000 tag. I do like the fact that she gets back to this distance on the turf. And, yeah, tough post position considering she'll be a closing sprinter, but she should be an okay price.
Well, let's go to race number 9, 6 furlongs, an allowance optional claimer, state bred, 3-year-olds and up with the optional claiming price of $12,500. 2 scratches, the 5, Zachary's pitch, the number 6, off duty. I went with the 7 on top, and that's Kokomo Wildcat. You went with the number 9 in here, and that's Minute Madness.
I did, and we'll show a statistic here for the connections on the 9 Minute Madness. Milton Wolfson with his horses on the dirt, cutting back from routes to sprints. It is a winning type of move. He's 7 for 24, just under 30%, positive ROI, $3.15, and he finishes in the money 58% of the time. So this horse has been off the claim, or since, not off the claim, but since this horse was acquired by Milton Wolfson, I think they just try to stretch him out. He looks a little bit flat going longer distances, but he should be able to close. Looks like a decent contentious pace signed onto this race.
Yeah, and I went with the 7, Kokomo Wildcat, on top of my ticket, who you have in second. He's going back to the main track after setting the pace against, I thought, a stalker closer bias to finish second, beating ahead. That was a 16 state bred, going 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Here's a stat over the last couple of years, and I only made it over the last couple of years because I've been watching this with Larry Pilati, going from turf to dirt, all claiming levels. He's 7 for 12. That's 58%, 75% in the money, and in the money, the ROI is $7, and that's over the last couple of years. Because it seems every time over the last couple of meets, every time he goes from turf to dirt, he wins.
He does, and you get paid for it too, $7. Now, this horse isn't going to be a very good price, I don't think. I think he should be the favorite in here. And I like him. I mean, I respect him. I try to get clever because I thought he might get some company on the front end. We have the 3 Island Cat. Once again, George Navarro. This horse has a lot of speed. He is benefited by the scratch of the 5 Zachary's pitch and off duty. Both horses kind of figured to have some speed. But will he kind of get caught up in that duel with the other Navarro horse, who is very fast to his inside?
Yeah, so you're always concerned about that. You're talking about a 6 furlong sprint in here. Now, we both used the number 1 Bulldozer on our ticket.
And Bulldozer, I thought this was a good race last time out. We'll go back and take a look at Bulldozer's performance. This was at Gulfstream Park West, cutting back slightly from 7/8 at Parks to the 3/4 there today. And we'll just show from the quarter pole to the finish. I thought he ran a great race. As we mentioned, Gulfstream Park West sometimes it can be very difficult to close in. It looked like the pace kind of held together pretty well, and he just mowed those 3 runners down that were on the front end. I know he finished second in that race, but it almost looked like he got up, and that's the kind of running style you want with potentially a contended pace.
Well, you mentioned the 11 Spin Talk, who we were afraid of, and you actually went back and added it on your ticket. And this one is stepping up to face multiple winners. This one was really impressive. That maiden special weight victory course down. Drew away at 7 furlongs to win by 3 widening lengths. Ralph Nix, Tyler Gaffleone, a good combination. I thought this was a horse you had to use, and you thought so too.
Well, sometimes you're looking at restricted in this condition, restricted allowance optional claiming company. They're Florida breds, and sometimes when you see a horse that can win against non-restricted company, maiden special weight company, as he did last time out, sometimes it gives them the class advantage. So I like the fact that it cuts back a little bit. I thought he ran a very superb race last time out, winning by 3 lengths. So I'm not fully confident in him, but he scared me enough to include him in the pick 5.
Yeah, and I think, and I had him in third. It wasn't that I said, oh, my goodness, he's going to win, because I was hanging out with Kokomo on top of my ticket. So let's go to the final race on the Thursday card, 1 mile on the turf, maiden claimant filly 2-year-olds, $50,000 down to $40,000. Scratch the 4, scratch the 14. Note that the 13 will get in and run. And we both in agreement here with the number 6 Golden Treasury.
We do both like Golden Treasury, and we'll take a look at this 2-year-old filly's performance. I believe 2 starts back at Laurel going on the 16th of October. And she is the number 3 horse you can see in the Live Oak Plantation colors, the red cap with the red dots. And she's down on the inside. She pretty much dueled the entire way down on the inside run. She took a lot of pressure the entire way around there. And you have to remember, this filly was stretching out from 6 furlongs at Belmont to 1 mile and a 16th that day. She took pressure, and she still hung on extremely gamely, in my opinion. So all of that after doing all of the dirty work, I'm betting her off of that performance. I am a little bit scared of her last race. I thought she should have either won or been a little bit closer.
What I liked about it, besides all the things you just mentioned, was that she takes her racetrack with her. She's run well. She's run well at Laurel. She's run well at Belmont. She ran okay at Gulfstream Park West. So it looks like she's a logical contender in there. Now, we both went with the 11 horse in second here, and this is Farhan Moore, debuting locally for trainer Christophe Clement. You go back and look at this horse's last race. He comes out, the horse comes out and bumps around, gets really pinballed action, bangs into a couple of horses. Now, finally gets straight and goes and runs up and has to steady. Then turns for home, is 3 wide on the turn. I just thought there was so much trouble for this horse early on that it ran very well in that race.
She did get into a lot of trouble. The only thing about that race was that was the first time that they added blinkers to her, and I think to probably help her focus. But at the same time, it made her a little bit keen. She was pulling really hard, and that's where she got into all that trouble. Right. Going into the first turn and on the backstretch as well. And the concern with this is that now the blinkers come off, she should be able to settle a bit better than she did last time out, but she's drawn way to the outside. And when you have a horse that's headstrong and keen, sometimes that can be very difficult. You want them to draw inside, get covered up, get focused by other horses, kind of create that barrier. And I don't think that's going to happen from that post position today.
Well, maybe with the blinkers off, she'll be throttled down that keen early interest, and we both used the number 10, Epic Lady.
Epic Lady, she trained by Mark Hennig, and in her debut, once again, she faced a maiden special weight company, and it kind of looked like she was fading going the mile at Monmouth, so this should be an okay distance, and plus that was her first start, so maybe she's gotten a little bit more of a bottom into her now.
Well, this is a fun card. I like it today. There's a lot of different angles, a lot of different ways you can go, which makes wagering here at Gulfstream the best.
It is. It's always the best, and those pick sixes, they're tough to tackle, but always fun to try to get through the maze there. I love the late pick 5 sequence, though. It is tough to find a single, but if you got full pockets, maybe play a pretty reasonable ticket, because I think it'll pay well. Your pockets look a little bit shallow.
Empty, a little shallow today. I'm going to go with that $43.20. Good luck, everybody.
What do I love about horse racing? Everything.